one of you wanted to talk about 3D rollouts, myths and realities. I think it was you, Carl. Give us a clue as to why you raised this topic.
Well, I think what we've seen today is you have the operators who are really getting close to launching their services, and very much that is a time to market play. And as I already said, that's very much we're going to broadcast in frame compatible mode. It's about getting the 3D service to the existing deployed HD set tops as fast as possible. We then also get the queries from operators about MVC, the multi-view coding technology, 2D plus delta. People are living on the hope there that they can still broadcast a regular 2D service and just the delta of what it will take to take a 2D service into 3D. And that's one of those hopes that doesn't really match reality right now today. The frame compatible mode will create as much a legacy in the market of continuing broadcasting frame compatible mode, which will probably mean that any full res 3D will be a frame compatible mode plus the delta to that to make it full res 3D. Production values are certainly what we're hearing back from people who are even trying to create content now, is that it's different. The camera setups are different, they're different angles, you're looking for different setup.
Graphics are a particular challenge.
Graphics, overlay and everything else. And so even from a production content creation standpoint, anything like a live event coverage or anything else like that, you're going to have really 3D dedicated viewpoint. In that respect, it seems that the live event coverage has a bit more similarity to even film production today. You've got your fixed convergence point cameras, which would work great in a studio environment, which is where the blank time in between the popular events that we just covered in the last question could probably easily be covered by studio-only content. The news or other things like that would be pretty easy to produce in 3D with fixed convergence point cameras. But when you get into the live events, and this is probably what we're going to see with the Golf Masters and everything else, you have your camera operator who's trying to worry about keeping the image inside the camera thing.
Two lenses focused.
You then have a second person who is a convergence operator who is dealing with the variable convergence point on the cameras that have variable convergence, which is what you're going to need for your long distance shot, bringing something into close focus. And then because you're switching between different 3D cameras and ones with fixed convergence point and variable convergence point, you have a stereographer whose sole role there is to watch all the different output from the 3D cameras and attempt to have a consistency in 3D quality and effect, as essentially the production director is attempting to switch from one camera to the next. So there certainly is an overhead to that type of production, and that's very different than how 2D is captured today.
That's why I think, and I agree with you, it's perfect for movies, absolutely perfect for movies, because all of these issues are dealt with over a long production period of time. And the revenue model around the movie, as long as it's a very reasonable movie, justifies the time taken in the suite, definitely.
No, I had the benefit of being able to go see an event being filmed in 3D and saw that this, people were able to do this in a real-time environment, but certainly it's back to the time where you're rolling a truck full of people out to an event, and which is why it is going to be the more premium events to start with that this is done. But in terms of studio production wise, in this sort of environment, closed room studio, using a fixed convergence point camera is a pretty easy way to generate some 3D content right now.
Ian, any horror stories coming back to your ears?
I think that most of it is that broadcasters want to be associated with it, and frame compatible offers a route for it. You've got to hold the viewers with it and not leave people disillusioned with incompatible systems where you're too quickly chopping through the technologies. From my point of view, I think the clear remit is for sort of downloaded movies, and that's slightly easier to contain.
Yeah.
And I think that there is the benefit associated with event coverage, both premium concerts and premium coverage, but the post-production that has gone on the most engaging content has taken some time.
Yeah,
It was months for the U2 footage, that there's an obvious dilemma with people pitching event coverage to cinemas or to the home. How much can you actually retain the live aspect of the content and yet produce, you know, sort of good, engaging 3D coverage that doesn't cover, you know, have problems with edge violations, you know, depth
Absolutely.
problems with
Yep.
footage, disparity, parallax. There are a whole host of issues that almost sort of preclude event coverage being cost effective. So I think there is it'll be very interesting to see what the consumer and what the broadcaster aspect is to actually stomach the bill that's associated with doing that live coverage. I think the safe bet is to assume the on-demand scenario,
Yes.
where you're sort of seeing what's out in the cinema replicated to the home, and there'll be a genuine battle between download and Blu-ray that comes on there, and it'll really rely upon imaginative marketing from broadcasters to take it up to the next step for event coverage.